Hey everybody out there in the YouTube universe, this is Mr. Movie, and in today's video we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be doing not a top 5 list of actors or directors movies that are in my collection. We're going to be doing the top 5 vampire movies that are in my collection. This was another hard list to do. I try to get a variation of different types of movies with different types of vampires, and I had to leave out some classics like, Nosferatu and Bela Lugosi's Dracula, even, sorry ladies, Interview with a Vampire. It came down to, as usual, rewatchability. The movies that I love, which are all those, even those ones I just mentioned, but that I love combined with I can watch over and over and they'll never get old to me. That's a big thing with me. If you watch my videos, is I have a rewatchability scale at the end of every review from 0 to 100, telling you, what number I'd put it at, of how many times I could watch it and not get tired of it. Obviously, I love all the movies that are in my collection, but some of them I can watch more than others. I also didn't put any superhero movies like Blade or ones where it's not just strictly vampires, like, Van Helsing or Underworld or Vampire Hunter D, because, there's other kind of monsters in it and, different things fighting each other or whatever. And so it's not just vampires. I kept this strictly vampires. And I didn't put any comedies because I wanted this to be a more serious vampire list, even though some of these movies do have comedy in them, not comedies about vampires. Those I left off. Okay, so here we go. Starting in at number 5, we have 30 Days of Night. The reason I like this movie so much is because it's a different kind of take on vampires. They're ancient like some other vampires for their old clothing. They show up in a almost a ghost ship. But the whole idea that it dawned upon them that, there's a place in Alaska where it's nighttime for a month. We don't have to worry about the sun. And nobody ever thought of that. And it's, isolated, and they could just go there and tear everything up. And the other thing, I like the way they look. They're very, very animalistic. They don't just bite your neck and suck your blood. They rip you to shreds. They're violent and vicious. The other cool thing that I like about them is that they don't have they have the same weaknesses, I guess you could say, but there's none of the stake through the heart or garlic or anything. It's just basically sun. Other than that, you're screwed. You know what I mean? And the one thing that I really, really like the most about this is different than others is what the newer Dawn of the Dead did for for zombies, is what this movie did for vampires. Instead of, the slow, they're quick as hell. They will chase you down and they run fast as hell, and they have superhuman strength, so they're super fast. They can jump on top of roofs and everything. It's just crazy. I like that aspect of it. And it's action packed, and it's totally badass and creepy and just crazy and out of control. I really like 30 Days a Night because it's something different, something new that they added. And that's one of the things that you'll see in this. The movies that I picked are very different from each other. So you got 30 Days a Night at number 5. Number 4, we have Let Me In. This is a great movie because it's not total action all the time. It's more about the relationship between the young girl she's young appearing because she became a vampire when she was a kid, but she's really old, and that she always finds a new mate, and their dedication to her lasts throughout their whole lives, and then they either die of old age or they're killed or whatever, and she finds another one, and she feels cursed and bad about it, but she's not going to deny herself the companionship, and she doesn't make them do anything. They do it on their own because they meet her, they fall in love with her, and and it's not even a sexual thing. It's just a love thing. And little kids as monsters or whatever is always creepy. And it's really well done. I love the story. There are some vicious parts to it because, you know, she's a vampire. She does some crazy stuff, and, you know, there's blood, but it's more about the story and the relationship and the whole thing of her long-lived life and what she has to go through, and what the person who chooses to be with her has to go through for their relationship to survive and for her to survive as a vampire. Really cool take, very different, and not your typical vampire movie, and that's why I like it, and that's why it's number 4 on my list of vampire movies in my collection. Number 3 is a more traditional one, Bram Stoker's Dracula. One of my favorite actors, Gary Oldman as Dracula, can't beat that. Putting Keanu Reeves, who I love his awful English accent aside, great movie. So many good actors in this movie. You know, Keanu Reeves, like I said, Gary Oldman, Winona Ryder, Anthony Hopkins. It just goes on and on with the people that are in this movie. Even Tom Waits is in this movie. The traditional story, Vlad the Impaler, you know, he turns against God because his woman is killed. You know, this is the most classic Dracula vampire one that I picked. And I picked this one over the Bela Lugosi one only because I have no problem with old movies. I have a lot of them in my collection. Cagney's one of my favorite actors. I don't mind black and white. It's just that this one I could watch more because there's more action, there's more craziness going on, and it's one of those things where when I did my remake video, it's more where the things that they could do as time progresses with CGI or effects in general catches up to the narrative, to the story. You know what I mean? It's like you can, back then, like in the 30s, they couldn't do what they could do in the 90s. So that just makes it a little better for me. And I like the whole tie to, you know, I love period pieces and stuff. So I love the whole tie to the ancient history and the whole mythology behind Vlad the Impaler and Dracula. Great movie, great acting. Number 3, Bram Stoker's Dracula. Coming in at number 2. Now, if you know me, you're going to be very surprised that this is at number 1 because it's written by my favorite director and he's actually in the movie. And it's one of my favorite movies. I mean, it might be in my top 10, but I put it at number 2 in this specific category of vampires because you'll see why when I show you number 1. But this is one of my favorite movies of all time, From Dusk Till Dawn. Oh my God. Everything about it is great. Whole new take, you know, that they have a bar out in the middle of nowhere in Mexico and they just feed off all the truckers and bikers that come through. You know, at the end, you see that it's like the back of a Mayan temple almost, so you don't know how long they've been there. George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino just kick ass throughout this whole movie. And what I love about this movie is, when I first saw it too, is, you know, they rob banks, you know, they're criminals, they're thieves, and it's the two of them running from the law. So it's like a, you know, Quentin Tarantino movie. Like, all right, 2 guys running from the law, you know, they get to this bar to meet up with the guy who's going to set them up in Mexico. And then out of nowhere, first of all, you have the sexiest dance in the history of cinema by Salma Hayek in this movie. But putting that to the side, when that dance is over, I mean, it completely just, you're not ready for it. It's vampires. What the hell is going on? Everybody in the bar turns into a vampire and it's just an all-out melee. And him and the people he came there with, Quentin Tarantino and the rest of his crew, you know, led by George Clooney, they have to survive the night. And it's just, you know, they get a couple of other people who didn't get turned fighting with them as a team. They all eventually turned pretty much, but it's Harvey Keitel. I mean, there's so many great actors in it, and it's just a fun, over-the-top, kick-ass vampire. It's the vampire movie you would picture Quentin Tarantino making, and it's just great from beginning till end. It's great. From dusk till dawn. It's great. Dusk Till Dawn, number 2 on the list. And number 1, you'll see why I put that at 2 when it comes to vampires. The nostalgia in me just took me over when I was making this list. You can't do nothing about it. The Lost Boys. I mean, hands down, best vampire movie ever made. Cause different take on it, you know what I mean? You got the punk rock and roll type vampires. They're young, you know, ride motorcycles and stuff. But you do have the main coven leader, but it's not like any ancient, they could be old, you don't know that. But I mean, it is that you have that main vampire that, you know, you have to get him. And it's all the rules of the vampires, and, you know, and everything goes with this, the garlic, you know, the sunlight, you know, fire, I mean, you know, you can kill them, but, you know, they're really, it's funny because it's like a teen type thing, but they're vicious. You know, they do some really hardcore stuff in this movie. And it's just, I mean, it's such an 80s classic, great nostalgic movie. Every line is great. There's so many great actors in it. You know, you got a lot of guys who, when they were young, just coming up in this movie, where, you know, you see this, it's one of their first performances, or, you know, one of their first memorable performances, and you get that whole crew of actors who were really coming up at that time, and just, oh man, they just crush it. It's such a great story too. You know, the whole Santa Carla, the town, you know, the old man there saying, you know, we got a problem with vampires. They're like, yeah, all right. And he's like, you know, this is how it ends. I love Santa Carla, but one thing I always hated, all the damn vampires. You know, it's like a reveal, like he knew the whole time. But yeah, the action is great, totally quotable from beginning to end. Great scenes, great soundtrack. It's just altogether a 80s vampire fest of teenage rock and roll mayhem. That's the best way I could put it. You know what I mean? That's the best way it could be described. And all that into one makes it number one on my vampire movies in my collection list. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want some more videos, or, you know, subscribe. I always do new ones. Hit the notification bell. New ones come in. You get to check out whatever I drop. You know, I do the top 5 lists. I do, you know, I review older movies, put them on the rewatchability scale. And like I said, share with your movie nut friends, you know, anybody who's into movies. If you have a different list, you like different vampire movies, maybe I didn't put it in, maybe I don't like it, don't know about it, whatever, put it in the comments. You never know. So, like I said, subscribe, hit the notification, like, share with your friends, do me a solid, and I'll very much appreciate it. This is Mr. Movie, protect your neck, from the vampires, and I'm signing off. I'll see you again next time at the flicks.